Hello everybody. So I've realized this month, being dry January, that I have never talked about my sobriety journey. So if you didn't know, dry January is a time for people to quit drinking. I mean, you can quit anything, but it's typically for quitting drinking. Whether you quit for just the month of January or if you use it to catapult into becoming sober for an extended period of time, it is just a month of being sober. And I realized that I've never really talked about why I got sober, how I got sober, and January is my 2-year anniversary of getting sober. So I want to talk a little bit about what that's been like, how I've gotten through it, you know, what started me on the want to be sober and how I've lasted this long. So let's talk a little bit about sobriety. So my journey started in 2021. I went through a really bad breakup in 2020. It was super chaotic and messy. I was drinking all the time. Quarantine turned me into quite the little alcoholic. I was drinking large quantities of alcohol all day, every day. I would wake up at 5 in the morning. I took 2 shots as soon as I woke up. I was taking shots throughout the day, and typically my day ended with me being blacked out and passing out. I spent a lot of time not really doing anything, not really leaving the house, so I just drank, and I became a regular at the liquor store. I remember I went a short period of time without coming in and getting my regular bottles, and I went back in and he's like, "Where you been?" And I'm like, "Well, not here, obviously." So it was a very scary time for me, and I remember when I first decided that I wanted to quit drinking, it wasn't easy. I was still seeing the person that I went through the breakup with, and they had quite the drinking problem as well, and it was hard. It was hard to make the decision to be like, I don't want to drink while somebody was sitting next to me still having like a couple glasses, you know? And it wasn't fun. It made me feel like I was the odd one in the room from, you know, going to parties and being like, "Oh, I'm not drinking, I'm sober." Like, it just made me feel really weird. But when I first decided that I wanted to quit, I remember it was shortly after New Year's, and we were just sitting on the couch and he was having a glass of wine, and I was like, you know, I don't have to quit drinking entirely. I don't have to be that person. I had decided that I was going to quit drinking heavily, but I hadn't really made the sobriety choice yet. And he poured me my glass of wine, and I took a few sips, and I was like, this is actually disgusting. I am not entirely sure why I drink, why I've been keeping the want to even just have a glass of wine. Like, what is it doing for me? And the taste of the wine just did not sit right with me, and from that moment on, I decided that I was going to be sober, and I did not pick up a drink again for those 2 years. For the entire 2 years, I have had sips. I've told myself that, you know, if I'm not gonna drink, the least I can do is if somebody orders a drink to make me feel a little more included, I take sips. I do taste tests. I will see what something tastes like, but I will never get a drink for myself. I will never pour myself. I will never buy alcohol to have in my house. And those were just conscious decisions that I decided to make. And don't get me wrong, the first, I want to say 2-3 months was hard going through withdrawal. Not an easy process. I was irritated all the time. I craved having a drink so bad. There was a comfort in knowing that I could wake up and get drunk and still semi-function throughout the day, because I was still getting work done. I was still being productive. I just was operating being drunk all the time. And it didn't really sink in until, I want to say, maybe like 6 or 7 months into my journey, and I realized that I was totally okay without drinking. I would even purposefully go to restaurants and sit at the bar instead of getting a table. One, because it was easier if I'm going out and eating alone. There's really no point in me taking up a whole table to myself. But I wanted to give myself the confidence that I could go to a restaurant, sit at a bar with a bunch of people having drinks, have all of the liquor sitting in front of me, and I'm still consciously choosing not to drink. And that for me was very empowering, to know that I could go and sit right across from it and not order a drink and be happy. And, you know, I've bought people drinks within my 2 years. I've brought alcohol to functions where I know that people are drinking, and, you know, given gifts of wine or whatever. And I've been able to keep myself on this journey, and I feel so good about it now. Don't get me wrong, I make jokes all the time with my sober friends where I'm like, you know, I could really go for that drink right about now. I could really see myself sitting down with a glass of wine. I wouldn't mind a couple shots. I wouldn't mind some tequila, because tequila was my drink. I have definitely struggled with not a craving, but just like the familiarity of having a drink, the familiarity of like being included, that I don't think that is ever going to fade, because we live in a society where drinking socially is encouraged in media, and when you go out, you see it everywhere. And even like family functions and things, everybody's always got a glass of wine, or somebody's drinking beer, or sporting events or whatever. Like, there's always alcohol around. So I don't think there's ever going to be an ease of pressure for, you know, things being easy on the social settings. I don't think that there's ever going to be a time where I go out in public and I'm not going to feel a little bit of that tension for not drinking with people or having to tell people that I'm sober. But it gets easier when you surround yourself with people who don't ask, or people who are also sober. I have at least a handful of sober friends, and going out with them is a little bit easier, because if I say we're both sober, it seems a little easier on the tension. But if you've been thinking about going sober and you're not sure how to start, I wanted to share some tips on like how I did it. Like, how did I just up and cold turkey just quit and decide like I was done? I don't know who told me about this trick to quitting anything, but somebody along my journey told me about it. Was when I was trying to quit smoking cigarettes, and I quit smoking cigarettes cold turkey as well. And I've picked it up a few times, like off and on, within the last, I don't know, like 5 years. For the last couple years, I haven't had any. And before that, I want to say I would go like a year or two, and then I would pick them up, and then I would put them down again. And when I quit smoking cigarettes, I used this tip, and it was, whenever you're picking up your substance, if you're unable to stop yourself and you know you're going to do it anyway, first think about how you feel before you start using whatever it is. Think about how your body feels, think about how you feel mentally, think about whatever stressor is causing you to pick up whatever you're using. And then with cigarettes, focus on the smell, focus on the taste, focus on the way your body changes, the way your mental place changes. Think about like how that stressor feels while you're using and then after you're using, and then see what changes occurred and be very present and mindful within the moment. And that's how I quit smoking cigarettes. So I thought, well, if it worked for smoking cigarettes, why wouldn't it work for, you know, quitting drinking? So when I was having that last sip of wine, that last moment where I was like, okay, I don't want this anymore. Before I picked up the alcohol, you know, I smelled it, I tasted it, I felt the way my body felt before I started drinking, and I didn't even finish the drink. The taste alone was what did it for me. I was, you know, I was just very conscious of all of the factors going into just that one moment of sipping a little bit of wine, and it was enough for me to finally say, I'm done. It doesn't taste good enough. It doesn't smell good enough. It doesn't make my body feel good enough. I feel okay without it. So if you need something to grasp onto to help you start your sober journey, I definitely recommend that. I recommend doing the present mindfulness and just being with yourself while you're going through that sober journey. Another journey that I plan on taking soon is quitting smoking weed, and I know it's not in relation to drinking by any means, but I do think that there is a culture around smoking weed that has started to become very similar to drinking. Ever since we started legalizing smoking, it seems like people who you'd never think would smoke are picking it up, smoking habitually every day. They went from I would never to now they're the stoner around the corner who can't leave the house without smoking. Like, it seems like it's going in the same direction as alcohol did. And so if you're considering quitting anything, you know, I hope you take my advice and try the mindfulness and being present with your addiction, and I hope you get through it. And I would love to open up the discussion to anybody who follows me, and if you need somebody to just like vent to, I do check a lot of my DMs. I do read a lot of my comments. If you want to, you know, talk about your experiences, or if you've tried being sober and you've relapsed and you've, you know, had to go through the sober journey again. Like, a good friend of mine tells me all the time, sobriety, mental illness, all of those things, they're not linear. You know, they have their peaks and their valleys, and you have to navigate through all of that. You have to, you know, become comfortable with this uncomfortability of, you know, one day it's going to be really easy, and the next day it might feel like you're gritting your teeth just to get through it. So if you're trying to go through any sober journey, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm here. I would like to be more of a beacon for people to flock to for healthy living. I can't believe I've been sober for 2 years and I've never made any content regarding that. I've never made any videos. I've never really posted. I don't do updates and check-ins. I don't do sober talks, and I'm an anomaly because I quit cold turkey and I haven't picked it up since. I'm an anomaly because I did it almost silently. I started out telling my friends that I was going to quit drinking because they all knew I had a drinking problem. All of my friends knew that I wasn't okay because every time they came over, I was already hammered. So I told a lot of my outer circles, my inner circles, but I really did not talk to the people who follow me on a regular basis. And I'm sorry that I didn't, because there are a lot of things in life that I preach about in my circles, but I don't really ever talk about to the people who follow me because it's not gonna make me money. And that's bullshit. I don't have these platforms just so that I can share things that make me money. I have these platforms because I genuinely do want to share who I am. And I decided that 2023 is going to be my year of saying yes. So even though I know this video is messy and I probably would go back and watch it and be like, I would say this different, or I stumbled over my words here, or I didn't feel like I got this point across well enough, or it wasn't as eloquently spoken as it could have been. But 2023 is my year of saying yes. And if that means making a YouTube video that's a little bit more messy, yes, I'm gonna do it. If that means, you know, doing something out of my comfort zone that I am not sure is gonna go over well, yes, I'm gonna do it. So yes to this video, because sitting in a room full of a bunch of people who got sober and listening to them speak about their journeys and how they feel a lot better on their journey, sharing it with others and sharing their progress, I would like to also partake in being an inspiration, being somebody that you can look to and be like, wow, I love her as a creator, I love her as a TikToker, or I love her as, you know, a Smexy creator, whatever the case may be, but I want you to see me for who I am. So this month marks 2 years sober for me, and I want to celebrate by inspiring some people to get sober on their own, do something with their life, you know, do something bold. If you've never gone sober before, go sober until the end of February. What's it gonna hurt if you do? Absolutely nothing. It won't hurt you at all. In fact, you'll probably feel amazing once you do. So, with all that being said, thank you for sitting and listening to me talk a little bit about my sober journey. I would like to open up the discussion if you would like to comment some of your progress, or if you know somebody who went through a sober journey and you've been considering it, or anything regarding, and it doesn't have to just be alcohol, it can be any substance. Like I'm sober from cigarettes and all nicotine products, and I, within the last few months, also got sober from caffeine, and I only do decaf coffee now and like teas with very low doses of caffeine. So sobriety doesn't have to be from one thing for you to feel like you can partake in the discussion. I would love everybody to share a little bit of their progress. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you're struggling with. Let me know if I can, you know, elaborate more on something that I went through, or stories about, you know, why I got sober, or anything. I'm an open book when it comes to a lot of things. I just have not put enough effort into giving you guys who I am. So I look forward to hearing about your stories. I look forward to hopefully reading the discussions that partake. I would love to partake in more open things with my fans. I know I'm messy when I talk, but I hope you guys got something out of this. I know I did. I feel very inspired to start new journeys this year. And if you can start something new with me as well, make 2023 the year that you say yes to doing things too. If it's healthy, if it's happy, and if it's healing, say yes. And I look forward to our sober journeys together. Bye, guys.